Hola chicos y chicas, soy RKB o espectro otro lado aquí de Boyd y básicamente yo hago videos para documentar mi vida. Hola chicos y chicas, my name is RKB or spelled the other way to Boy and based on my videos to document my life. Welcome to Love That's RKB, where I'm basically documenting my life and for you guys to view it. So today I'm going to be starting day one of my kind of like Bible study. This is behind. It was supposed to be actually in my day 15 of February, 28 days of content, but it's happening today, which is March 13th. Um, is today the 13th? Yep, March 13th. So yeah, this is actually perfect timing actually for this setback, and the reason why I say that is because if you guys don't know, currently it is Lent, where you're supposed to be giving up something and you're supposed to be growing closer to God. Um, so that's basically what I am doing currently, and this just happened to work out perfectly. So I will show you guys pictures of this book, and you guys see this. I will link the haul video to this book. Actually, I got this from the thrift store. I'm actually gonna see if I could find the book where you guys can purchase it, and if I do, I'll put all that information into the description box. So let's go ahead and get started. So this is the name of this book is called 50 Eye-Opening Meditations. Take a closer look for women. Uncommon and Unexpected Insights to Inspire Every Area of Your Life by Jan Kern. Like I said, I did get this book from Goodwill. I guess somebody actually got this book from Family Christian Stores, and she paid about $25 for it. So maybe I have to look on there, and it has an ISBN number, and I'll put all the info in the description box. Let's go ahead and jump into it. So, I started doing this journey of me kind of really getting into God on my own for about I'll say I'll say a little bit before I went to college actually. I'll say about like 2014 was when I really got serious about learning about God and everything. In college, it just sparked something in me, and I would always read my Bible and always do it. So, yeah, that's where that stems from. My family, we didn't grow up any certain way. We were considered Christians, but we didn't really like, we had morals and everything, but we didn't grow up under a certain religion. And I really always tell people I kind of thank my mom for that because it's allowed me for me to actually venture off and find my own religion, which I did find, which is Christianity, non-denominational. And I am just on this journey with myself and others who want to attend because eventually I want to use my languages to just do mission work for the rest of my life. So, yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into the first section. There's a total of 50 lessons. We're going to start on day one together. So day one, I always date and I always time when I've done these. So I actually did this October 15th, 2015 on Thursday at 10:51 p.m. This is day one, and its title is I Really Want to Know. So I'm going to read everything, and then at the end they ask you questions, and I'll give you guys my responses during that time. Let's go ahead and jump into it. I really want to know. The Spirit said to Philip, Go over and join this chariot. So Philip ran to him and heard him reading Isaiah the prophet and asked, Do you understand what you are reading? And he said, How can I unless someone guides me? And he invited Philip to come up and sit with him. Acts 8:29 through 31. If you guys are new to the Bible, when they say numbers like that, it's always the verse, then the chapter. Hold on, I'm getting that wrong. It's always the it's always the chapter then the verse. So it's like Acts chapter 8, verse 29 through 31, and that was from the ESV version. Um, so then they have the next portion, which is like kind of like the passage. So it's called the big picture. So let's go ahead and read the big picture. Picture those places where you might chat with someone about God. A garden path or a coffee shop. Places that are comfortable and away from distractions. But sometimes God has other plans, like the plan for Philip to go to the desert to talk to the man who was riding in a chariot. In the book of Acts, Philip was one of 7 selected to help Jesus' apostles, a Greek-speaking Jew. He at first focused his work on the care of the Greek widows and the poor people who were part of the Christian church in Jerusalem. This new church was blossoming. Those who witnessed Jesus' powerful life, hold on. Those who witnessed Jesus' powerful life, death, and resurrection shared their message of hope about Jesus the Messiah. Many responded, but during that time the religious leaders intensified their persecution of Christians. As more friends and family were killed or scattered, Philip's duties shifted to that of an evangelist. He spoke boldly about Jesus, and many listened. Philip had been speaking in the villages of Samaria, north of Jerusalem, when he returned. He, re- hold on. Philip had been speaking in the villages of Samaria, north of Jerusalem. When he returned, he received a very specific order for one of God's angels. Sorry, I'm getting really hoarse. Let me take some of this tea. Little mini intermission. Okay, I think we're better. Okay, let me reread that. When he returned, he received a very specific order from one of God's angels. Go south along the desert road that goes from Jerusalem to Gaza. Philip had no idea why he was to go, but the Bible says he arose and went. Traveling through the parched land, Philip saw a man riding in a chariot. He was an Ena. I don't know how to pronounce this word properly, but I'm going to spell it out. Eunuch in office, highly respected and trusted in his position as treasurer for the Queen of Ethiopia. He had gone to worship in Jerusalem and was on his way home. While he rode in the chariot, he puzzled over the words in the Bible of Isaiah the prophet. Philip, directed by God's Spirit, ran alongside the chariot. Do you understand what you are reading? He asked the Ethiopian man. The man looked up. How can I without an explanation? So urgent was his desire to understand. He invited Philip to join him and tell him what it meant. While the chariot moved along, Philip and the man pored over the ancient words that foretold Jesus' life and death. God's Spirit worked to bring understanding to the Ethiopian. When the chariot came to a river, the man was so thoroughly convinced of Jesus' identity that he asked to be baptized. Philip was in the right place at the right time, ready to help someone understand the truth about Jesus. So that's the whole little passage section. That's the big picture type of thing. And then throughout the book, they give you like these little inspirational quotes that kind of relate back to the passage. And this quote at the bottom says, "I love those who love me, and those who seek me diligently will find me." Proverbs chapter 8, verse 17. Um, New King James Version. Um, one thing about me is when I actually started learning about God, I actually was reading the King James Version, and I really highly recommend you read something like ESV, like English speaking or like easy speaking version. It's the more common, like how we speak vernacular today, because if you kind of get into those like ye and thee and thou, those can kind of throw you off a little bit, or you may be able to understand, but when I was first learning, that was very difficult for me, and that's actually what kind of pushed me away from reading the Bible, because I didn't know that there were other versions. So I actually have a Bible here that's a King James version, but I will link Bible Gateway website to the bottom of the ESV version. So now we're on to the second half of the part where it talks about take a closer look. So I'm going to go ahead and continue. The Ethiopian man really wanted to know the truth about Jesus. Look closely and you see that his searching had begun before God's angels directed Philip to the Gaza desert to meet him. Ethiopia was and still is about 1,500 miles away from Jerusalem. Those are a lot of bumpy miles along dusty desert roads to get to Jerusalem to worship. Why all that way? It's possible that centuries before, Judaism had spread to Ethiopia after royalty from the country visited Jerusalem. The Ethiopian man might have had Jewish roots and desired to travel to Jerusalem to attend an important feast. Regardless, it's clear that the man's trip was more than mere duty. On his way home, he had questions and didn't mind asking for answers. He hungered to understand. The day in the chariot His interest focused on a few sentences that Isaiah had written. They spoke about someone's unjust humiliation and death. The Ethiopian knew it was a prophecy and considered the source reliable. He questioned who it could be that was led like a lamb to the slaughter. Philip told him it was Jesus. The Ethiopian, who really wanted to know the truth, was ready to believe. And then they have a little quote here on the same page that states, God is always previous. God is always there first. And if you have any desire for God and for the things of God, it is God himself who put it there. That quote was by A.W. Tozer, Tozer. Now I'm on to the next page, which this portion talks about, is called Apply It to Your Life. So there's about, in total, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So you get 5 sections in each little lesson you do. So you get the first part, which is the big picture, the second one, which is take a closer look, which I just read, and then now we're going to go ahead and go to apply it to your life. So now during this time, you want to start thinking about what I'm saying, but also think about your situation and think about something where you can literally apply this to your life. So I'm going to go ahead and read. Let me take a little intermission. My throat is getting dry. Okay, apply it to your life. Picture Philip and the Ethiopian traveling along in the chariot, heads bent down in intense discussion over the words of Isaiah while the horses trotted down the road. God was there too. He orchestrated the whole event. He does that. He knew the Ethiopians hungered to accurately know the truth about him. He knew of his persistence, that he was willing to go whatever distance it took, and that he was willing to ask the questions that plagued his heart. Picture yourself with a friend chatting at your kitchen table over a favorite cup of tea, discussing the questions that plague your heart. God is just as present in your conversation as he was in Philip's and the Ethiopian. And like the like EUNUCH word, your questions about the words you read in the Bible will be answered. Take advantage of the richness of the wisdom of other women who have gone before you in asking the deeper questions about God, those who have studied the words of the Bible longer. You won't ever understand it all, but know as you and your friends sit with your heads bent together, searching, that God is there too. He will help you. He will help you find the answers you long for. And then it says a quote at the bottom: "Deal with your servant according to your love kindness, and teach me your statuses. I am your servant. Give me understanding that I may know your testimonies." Psalms chapter 119 verses 124 through 125 NASB version, which I don't know what that stands for. So yeah, now we're going to go ahead into the next part, which is how others see it. The Ethiopian man is a wonderful example of someone who was grateful for those who could help him understand the Bible. John Gill, in John Gill's exposition of the entire Bible, stated, quote, "Instead of charging Philip with impertinence and insolence and interrupting him whilst reading, and putting such a question to him, he expresses himself with great and uncommon modesty, with a sense and confession of his ignorance and incapacity, and of the necessity and usefulness of the instructions of men appointed to God to open and explain the scriptures." End quote. David Guzik encouraged people to welcome the teachings of others in his enduring word commentary series. He said, quote, "It was good for the Ethiopian to be reading the Bible, but unless understanding was brought to him, there would be little beneath from his reading. But God had brought someone, Philip, to bring understanding. How can I unless someone guides me? This is the proper question of anyone who wants to understand the Bible. We should never feel bad if we need to be taught before we understand many things." End quote. So I'm going to go ahead and just stop there and just talk a little bit about that. I actually put like a little star or something near here where it says um, where it says, it was good for the Ethiopian to be reading the Bible, but unless understanding was brought to him, there would be little benefit from his reading. So not even just talking about the Bible, but just think about if you were doing a homework assignment or helping your kid out with homework or something like that, anything that you have to be attentive to, you can't just kind of skim over it and just kind of throw out the window. You really have to take in what's being there on the page or the book or whatever and really absorb it so it can sink, so you can understand. And if you don't understand, then you have to ask for understanding so that you can understand. And I hope that makes a lot of sense. But it's like, don't never feel like you can't ask for help or that you can't give help, because just because you're not well versed and I am, does not mean that you don't know anything about the Bible at all, or that doesn't mean that I know more than you. So now they have this little quote about it, says zooming in. It usually gives the zooming in portion at the bottom, usually gives like a little bit like a history of this time or something about, like they do like a lot of grammar in here, like a lot of word terminology, which I like since I'm a language major, so I really like to read this portion, so I'm gonna go ahead and read it. Zooming in. So that word I was struggling with, ina, I think, comes from the Greek word. Um, yeah, this word is also difficult. Um, inochos, and literally means a keeper of the bed or bedkeeper. The term often referred to a castrated male employed to take charge of the women of a royal household. It also can be used to describe a person of quality and dignity who is trusted and given an office of great authority. The Old Testament records the visit of Queen Sheba to King Solomon in Jerusalem. According to Ethiopian tradition, she took Judaism as her own religion, and it spread in Ethiopia. Some historians say that she had a child by Solomon, presumably the beginning of the race of the black Ethiopian Jew called Falashas, who practiced a less orthodox form of Judaism. So now following the next page, it has like a little quote at the top that says, "The Ethiopian man yearned to understand more about God. You can pray for the same thing. When you do, you'll find God meeting you in a new and deeper way." So I'm going to go ahead and read. This is like the little part where they ask you about 3 questions and you are supposed to fill in whatever they ask you. Um, this is the portion called Through the Eyes of Your Heart. So actually this book is passed down. This is a from the thrift store. So I actually have some of the writings from the other woman who was doing this, and I actually would think it would be pretty cool if I was actually to meet her. So I actually found out that she probably stays in Wisconsin because she put McCarthy Park down here. But I'm not gonna read her stuff. I'm just gonna read what I put. So question number 1. It can be embarrassing to admit you don't understand something. Do you have a friend you feel is safe, to whom you can go to answers to your questions about God? So, the people I mainly talk to about God, I actually put in that book, that which is my TT, or my aunt or my auntie. I don't know what you call that, but my sister's mother, my no, my mother's sister. Um, that's who I talk to a lot. Other than that, I really confide in God a lot more because, yeah, I have my TT, but at the same time, sometimes she's not always around. So then I always to God. Question number 2. Make learning about God delightful. What favorite places could you could be your chariot, quote unquote chariot, where you can invite a friend to join you? I actually put my home, a quiet, calm, welcoming environment. So yeah, I'm actually a big stickler for home, being home and doing things. Or I don't really like being out in the open. I like really being secluded, having that one-on-one time. Sorry, I'm getting really hoarse. That one-on-one time with God, or with, me, God, and someone else. Question number 3 states, are you a Philip too? Whom do you know who needs a friend to come along? Side her on the dusty roads in life. How might you encourage her? And I actually put this as my response. I put, I am often the person on both sides, but I can encourage by keeping faith, working hard, and knowing that God will turn it for good. And that is true. Like, sometimes I'm Philip and sometimes I'm an Ethiopian man. Sometimes I know a lot about a situation, a lot about particular parts in the Bible, and sometimes I just cannot get it. I just cannot understand. And that's why I put that I'm like on both sides. Like, I hop between Philip and Ethiopian man. You don't have to be just one. Sometimes you're going to find yourself being able to help someone um, in a particular portion of the Bible, but there's another place where I may lack. So one thing I may lack from is I actually start learning about marriage and a lot in the Bible. So I can speak a lot about it, but a part of the aspect of it physically I can't because I'm not or never have been in the situation. So yeah, that's the end of day one. Bible study. Like I said, I'll put all the information in the description box. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Adios, chicas. Please answer the questions following.